Yeah, it's been a couple of days, y'all. Or it's been 2 days, but it's been a couple of days. And I've been cooking, and now it's time for me to talk to you guys about what I've been thinking about because I didn't want to just like rush out and be like, "What?" I was honestly just stun locked when the announcement stream happened. If I'm being honest, the announcement stream contained a ridiculous amount of information, not just related to Necropolis, but overall to the game in this upcoming patch. And I needed a moment to digest it so that I could present to you guys what I'm thinking about. And while some of the takes in the moment were good, the ones I'm about to give you are even better, realistically speaking. All right, so what am I thinking about when I think about this challenge league? Well, one, it looks sick. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. My initial reservations were, maybe, but the more that I've thought about it, I'm really fond of it for a couple of reasons. And I think I should start with the main one, which is the actual thing you do, killing monsters. And so there are these buffed up monsters that we get to choose the buffs on each time we go into a zone. You view the Lantern of Aramor, and then you give them buffs. And you can see on the screen here, this is an example from like in maps, where you get to see the monster types on the left and the buffs that they're going to be given on the right, which some of them are devoted modifiers, they call it, which are just mostly positive things. They seem to have no negatives attached to them, just positives. And then there are the ones like increased damage and chance to gain frenzy on hit, which are purely just negatives to us, right? And you can move these around. You can put the modifiers that you want in the places you want. Maybe you want to move the dangerous modifiers away from monsters you already know could kill you. Maybe you want to move the good buff modifiers, like this quant one, for example, or the XP one, for example, onto monsters that are generally more frequent, right? Who knows what you're thinking about, or things that are more likely to spawn as rares, etc. Who knows, right? And I think this is a really cool way to customize the difficulty of the game that you're going to be playing, as well as I think actually a great way to start bridging the gap in knowledge between players about what monsters actually do, because you're able to hover over these monsters and see like what the name of it is and what how dense their packs are and whatnot. Just to start putting names to things that you see so that you know what to look up on, like POEDB, or when you're watching your favorite streamer talk about a monster type that killed them, and now you get to know about like the Stygian monsters that do the Stygian revenants that do DD in Crimson Temple, for example, right? Like you get to know about that. And that's actually really cool. And so that's one thing I think is really cool. Plus, let's add another layer to this, right? Because I'm not done yet. It's just about adding on. Allflame embers are also very cool. And I think that we should be talking about these as well, because Allflame members allow us to modify what monsters we see. So you'll see here, like this one on the left, it says Allflame member of frogs. You turn the pack into frogs. A pack of about 16 to 21 monsters can have an additional monster. And you can replace a terrible pack in here. You could decide you don't want those goat shamans that I see on the screen there, and replace them with a pack of frogs. Like, that's an option for you. That's awesome. Or you'll see here the Ember of Tafwa. I'm terrible pronouncing it. That I'm so sorry. But you can see that this gives tattoos as a reward for those monsters, and so you could have it replace. Again, you replace a pack with those monsters, they drop tattoos. It's worth noting, as emphasized in the stream, actually, that the replacements inherit the density stats of the pack that they're replacing. So if you're really after these tattoos, you should make sure you're replacing a high density monster type so that you're actually getting a lot of them to kill. That's one thing that I think is super sick about this league. Just generally, the Lantern is sweet. There's one thing that people are a little concerned about, which I also think is actually pretty sweet, which is that you cannot opt out of this mechanic. I'll give you two reasons why I think this is cool, because it's one of few times they've done this. One, I think being forced to interact with the mechanic is good for learning purposes. It forces you to actually play the game in a way that you weren't already playing, right? I think that's good. We want season over season improvements, and you should actually engage with things rather than just looking at it immediately and going, nope, I don't want to do it. It doesn't immediately fit with what I think I want to do, and I'm just not going to do it. Like, engage the content. And two, this is a bit of a greedy wish and a bit of a copage wish, if you will. Get your copium takes out, everybody. I hope that this is a sign that maybe this league mechanic will be tuned reasonably, because I think that's the biggest fear. Being unable to opt out of a league mechanic is concerning, because league mechanics, if you look even just recently, but especially within the past year or two, are really aggressively tuned. The jump in difficulty between regular content and league mechanic content is ridiculous. Just as a really good example of this league that we're wrapping up right now, right? In Affliction, Wisp up white mobs are more threatening than pretty much anything you can run into at base, except for maybe an essence. And those are leak mechanic mobs. Like a whisked up white mob that naturally spawns is giga tanky and does a ton of damage if you had like 5k wisps. Like that's the concern that people are having, but I'm hoping that the thought process is that they did it that way to like really lean into the risk reward aspect. And so maybe by making it so that it's just added on to the base experience, their tuning threshold for it is more lenient. That's my hope anyways. That's system 1. That's really cool with this leak mechanic. But you'll see here, system 2, the other side of it, right? Because you can't just have a mechanic that's just gameplay involved, right? The mechanic has to have loot that matters. We saw this in Calandra where the mechanic was mid and the loot was niche, and therefore nobody liked the league. Versus like Sanctum where the mechanic was kind of niche, roguelikes are for everybody, but the rewards were really powerful and everybody wanted a part of that. Sanctum Federal Relics are awesome. Or we look at this currently that we're in right now. The mechanic itself, very straightforward, actually very engaging. And then the other side of it really is the rewards were incredible, right? You have to have both sides. And so the reward for this mechanic is corpses. You kill certain monsters that have this tag called unresolved anguish on them, and therefore they will drop corpses. Then they drop corpses that have crafting modifiers on them, which you then take to a place that honestly reminds me of the Sacred Grove from the actual Harvest League. You'll see here an example of what this looks like. It's literally a morgue full of, you fill your corpses in there to get crafting modifiers, and all of these modifiers together craft one item. Or will they do one craft? I shouldn't say one item, because you'll see on the second screen here, you can actually get all types of modifiers, and there's one that actually does like stack up to give high enough. They showed it in the stream of guaranteeing an additional item crafted out of this craft. Which you'll see here that this is the amalgamation of all the modifiers on this screen. You know, elemental modifiers are rarer, chance to fracture and explicit, fizz modifiers are rare. So I guess we're looking for a chaos thing here or something. I can't tell what we're doing, right? But we put it all together and it sums it up on the screen as they're getting ready to craft this shield. And you can see they're looking for mana mods, +1 explicit, a lot less on the fizz and elemental side of things, and hopefully a fracture, right? And then it comes out when you you exercise all of the corpses to get a shield. And now this shield sucks, but the idea is do not focus on the quality of this item on the ground. Focus on the idea behind how we get there. Focus on the potential of crafting with a system like this. And that's where the fun of this is going to really come in. I am going to be digging into this myself very extensively to figure out how this works, because I think it'll be really fun just to explore the crafting, just like I did back when Harvest came out. I got really deep into that. I did a good bit of digging in Crucible. I really like advanced crafting systems, and I think this is going to be incredibly fun to talk about. Now you'll see here like some of the crafts that they didn't show, like in that screenshot that I showed you. Like here we go, the second item coffin, for example, or just plus to tier rating, which I think this is something that we don't know enough information about yet as to what this means. But I suspect that either with the full data release next week, right before the league hits, or after some experimentation in game, we'll figure out very quickly what this actually means and how we calculate it to mean something useful for us to work on, right? Also here, you know, you see increased chance of speed modifiers, things like that. And the most important piece, corpses can be stored in an item, which means these are trade viable. Or more importantly, I imagine the morgue is probably going to have a limit because of like data stuff and whatnot. So even in SSF, it might benefit you to like save things in itemization just to like make room. They're probably going to have to optimize that process in some way, shape, or form for SSF players in case you can actually really print these things out. The other things that you can see, like this filled coffin here, the items that, you know, making sure you can actually use the item you get. You scroll down and you can see some of the items that they made here. Look at some of the modifiers on this, guys. Gems can be socketed in this item ignoring socketed color. That is not a normal modifier at all, actually, outside of uniques. Damage taken recouped as life is not a chest piece mod normally. That's another special thing you could get here. If you look at this helmet has +1 power charges and increased effective curses. If you look here on these gloves, there's MAME on it. Like there are modifiers local to this mechanic that are going to change the game. Like this is an uninfluenced +1 power charge helmet, you guys. Like this is massive. You can get +1 power charges on a helmet and have Eldritch implicits. Like you see what you picking up what I'm putting down here? There's a lot of power potential here in this league, and I think it's really, really cool. And something else that I think is worth noting is look at, like, it seems accessible. It seems acceptable. Like I totally believe that this could be great. I think we need to know a little bit more, right? Before I go off and sing its praises, I'm gonna actually play the league and stuff. But I think that the one thing that I'm mostly keeping an eye on is these like stronger crafting modifiers and rarer modifiers. And when I'm like, how hard are those to come by? That's gonna be the one. That's gonna be a major thing. There's one more thing we need to talk about here though as well, and that's the Atlas tree. You may be thinking, why are we talking about the Atlas tree? Hey, look at that. Necropolis. There's 4 of them. There are Necropolis nodes on the passive tree. It's a huge step in the right direction. There is investment potential within the mechanic already, too. It's not just, oh, here it is at base, everything that we have to offer, but there's going to be optimization involving putting this on our Atlas trees. And I think that's going to be sick. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. I just really wanted to talk about how sick this league is going to be and a little bit of my ideas for things that I think we could do with it, because I do think that there's going to be a couple economies, right? Let me give you a couple of those ideas real quick. I think one, corpse sellers are going to be a really big thing, just like seed sellers were in Harvest. And every crafting based league mechanic, it's always very valuable to like find viable craft corpses and sell them. And for that note, I will like just point out very quickly, there are modifiers on the Atlas tree that change the drop rates of specific corpses, as well as down here you can spawn additional corpses. So there's a chance that there's just literally a corpse farmer setup that exists. Obviously, the crafting potential means that people who really understand and optimize this system will make mundos of bread off of crafting the items themselves. And I think that there is a secret tech with some of these like modifiers. Like if you saw in, I believe it is this image here, there's quant on here, right? Quant and rarity as monster modifiers. And these devoted modifiers are pretty strong. In this trailer, even they show the Nameless Seer from Affliction as an option, right? These devoted modifiers are very strong, and I think that you could actually see these really juice up just the regular mapping experience as you optimize how to get more and more of these devoted monsters. And you'll see on the Atlas tree, there's even something to optimize into, you know, haunted modifiers being applied randomly, and you can't get embers, but you get stuff like, you know, what is this? Monsters having more haunted modifiers, because those are the things that give you the power, giving you a chance for more devoted modifiers. Like there's a lot of potential here for that as well. And the last one, because there are 4 of these, I might as well touch the 4th, just so you're not left out. This one right here, I have a strong feeling might actually have a lot to do with potential for magic finding, right? With ghost busting plus spawn corpses might actually make ghost busting reliable for regular gameplay if ghosts spawn all the time because you're just picking up corpses, right? There's a lot of potential, a lot of cool things you can do with this mechanic. I think it's going to be really fun getting to play around with all of the modular pieces of it, and like researching it. And so, you know, to that note, I mean, if you guys find things, let me know. I'll be scouring Reddit and YouTube anyways, trying to find it as much as I can, because I think this is going to be very fun. If you appreciated this video, you know, a like always helps me out. You can even subscribe if you want to see more of what I've got going on. And otherwise, hey, look, I'll catch y'all later, Exiles, because it's we got a week to get prepared, because I gotta figure out my league start and all that good stuff so we can finally get into playing the game. Woo, woo. Take care, y'all. Thanks for watching.